Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun-filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.uolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. And then you will see a list of the classes that you last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name. And then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that. And then upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on Share, copy the link, and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at YOLO_app. I'm eagerly looking forward to all your submissions right after this class.
Hey there, kids. How are you doing? Welcome to today's class. Now, today is the last class of our All About Media course that we have going on over here. It is all about talking about different parts of media. So, we went ahead and spoke about a lot of fun things. And today's class is going to be all about movies. Now, I am super excited about this class because it's going to be something really, really fun, innovative. It's a class that I really wanted to go ahead and have at some point of time, and I am super excited and pumped about it. Now, before we get started on to the class and I talk to you about how we're going to go ahead with it, let's talk a little bit about your certificate program as well as your submissions. Now, coming to your certificate program, like you all know, you're getting certificates for the work that you're going ahead and doing. The only thing that you have to go ahead and keep in mind is that you have to attend all of your classes. So let's say a particular course has 4 classes, then make sure to go ahead and attend all of the 4 classes. The second thing to go ahead and remember is all about your submission. So make sure that, again, if there are 4 classes, then you'll have 4 submissions to go ahead and do, and you're going ahead and doing that on time. Now, apart from that, I keep talking to you about how your submissions are so important in general. It's a sort of like a marker, sort of like an identifier as to how you're going ahead and doing as a student. So I want to go ahead and see your submissions every single time, whether it's good or bad. Now, coming to this course, we have sometimes I do have sort of like an artwork or a piece of something that you have to go ahead and do, but sometimes I don't. For example, in this class, we don't really have an artwork or an illustration or a drawing that we're going to be going ahead and doing. But what about the submissions that I'm giving you in these kind of classes? Now, these kind of submissions from these classes are all related to your creativity. They all, kind of lean towards figuring out how creative you can get, how fun you can get, how you can go ahead and innovate, how you can go ahead and use your imagination with the things around you and get an idea of how you can go ahead and do your submission. Now, I want to go ahead and see how you've grown. Now, obviously, art comes with the concept of creativity. Art comes with the concept of imagination. So if you've been going ahead and doing all of your art classes perfectly, your imaginative side would have grown so much more, and these submissions will be really, really fun and easy for you to do. So make sure you go ahead and do it. Now let's get started with today's class. Now today's class, like I mentioned, we're not going to really do an illustration or a drawing, so you don't really need a list of materials. I will be giving you a submission right at the end of the class, but that we'll go ahead and discuss later on. Now today's class is going to be all about movies. So we're going to be going ahead and talking about what a movie basically is, what is the concept of a movie. We're going to be going ahead and talking about the people involved in a movie. Now, a lot of the times, I go ahead and talk to you about the history and I go ahead and give you the idea from where things came from. But in terms of movies, I wanted to just go ahead and discuss about how a movie is made. Now, as a child, I remember I didn't really know how a movie was made. I used to watch a lot of shows and movies on TV, or I used to go to the theater and go ahead and watch a lot of movies, but I didn't really know how they were particularly made. So this class is going to give you all of that insights, which I thought as a kid it would be really fascinating for me to know. So if you do learn something exciting, from this, then go ahead and share it with your friends and family, and they would be so excited to know what all you've gone ahead and learned. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is, what is a movie exactly? Now, a movie is basically a simple visual representation of anything. Most of the times these tend to be stories. So for example, if you go ahead and look at the three pictures I have here, these are all Disney movies. You have an Aladdin movie, you have a Peter Pan movie, and you have the Lion King movie. They're all some form of stories that are basically being told, and they both have visual and audio. So what do I mean by visual? Visual is basically eyesight. You're going ahead and seeing movement, you're going ahead and seeing characters, you're going ahead and seeing colors, you're going ahead and seeing a storyline being played in front of you. So that is all related to a visual. And audio is basically that you'll go ahead and hear. So probably these characters talk, you have some music in the background, you basically have like a backtrack playing, they're going ahead and talking something, they're having a conversation, and then basically a whole visual representation of a story is being played out. Now, movies can be short or long movies. You do have short movies which tend to be probably 30 minutes to around 40 minutes, but you also have longer movies which are around 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Now, our Bollywood movies tend to be on the longer side. We have movies that basically happen from anywhere between 2.5 hours to even 3 hours. Nowadays we have some shorter movies, probably 1.5 hours or so, but in Hollywood you do tend to have movies that range between 1 to 1.5 hours. Normally is kind of the place to do it. Now again, when you coming and talking about movies mean a lot of things in different regions. For example, in Hollywood you have movies that have less of songs and dances. Basically they stick to what the concept of the movie is. For example, if it's a thriller, then it's only related to thrillers. If it's an action movie, it's all related to the action sequences that come into play. If it's a sci-fi movie, it's all related to fiction and science and things like that. But in India, our Bollywood movies, if we have the Kannada movies, or we have our Tamil movies, we have Telugu movies, we are very, very inclined towards song and dance both. So we do have, a lot of that as well. Even if it's a simple, thriller movie, or it's just a simple love story as well, we do have a lot of songs and we have a lot of dances that come into play. So that is sort of like a style of how we create our movies. But all movies around the world have different genres and different ways of playing out. Now, instead of getting into what basically how basically movies came into, I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about how a basic movie is made. So here, if you see, I have so many pictures of different movies, and you can go ahead and see that they're all different concepts. So for example, to give you two maybe that you will be able to identify, you can probably look at Titanic, and you can look at Harry Potter. Now, Titanic basically is a very old movie. It's a movie that is very, very famous, and it's a beautiful movie. And we have the Harry Potter movies, or the Harry Potter whole series that we have going on, and the concept behind it, or the genre behind it, is completely different. It's more on the fictional, mystical side. It has so many beautiful things that happen. It's a story about a boy and his friends, and his family, and all of that. It's a mystical world. It's an amazing movie. But one thing that is common to all movies are basically how it is made. You have so many, departments that actually work in a movie, that go ahead and actually are part of the movie. Though in the front we just go ahead and see a 3-hour movie in which we have a bunch of characters, and we understand and kind of go through that whole visual representation and audio representation of it. There are so many departments that actually work in creation of a movie. So that's what we're going to go ahead and talk about today. So firstly, let me give you the name or the identifier of what we actually call them. We call them the film crew. The film crew is basically a bunch of people. It could be 100 people, it could be 200 people, it could be many people that are involved in production of a movie. Production or producing a movie is basically the process of creating the movie. So these are all the people who are part of the film crew. So firstly, the first person and the most important person of the movie is called the director. The director is the one who basically directs the making of the movie. So for example, if there are 10 departments working, then he will be organizing and managing all of these 10 departments in doing the work. For example, one few of the famous directors we have in Bollywood are people like Karan Johar, we have Farah Khan, we also have, who can you think about? Think about someone and tell me. So you have so many, directors who basically exist, in Hollywood, Bollywood. Different smaller creators are also there who are directors, who basically direct all of the teams coming into play. The second group that we basically have is that of the production. Now, the production basically is more related to the financial aspects of how a movie is made. It comes into the concept of, where the funding for the movie will come from, how much you're going to pay a person who's going to act in the movie, how much you're going to pay each department. All of that comes basically under the production part of it. Now, I don't really want to get into all of the technical aspects of the movie creation, for example, like that of the production, because it can be something that's really confusing to go ahead and talk about, and something that's not very fun and necessary. So that's why I'm keeping that very, very brief. But what I do want to talk to you about are some particular departments that are really, really important and intriguing to talk about. So the first department that I have for you is that of the location department. Now, the location department has a bunch of people working in it. It has a location manager, it has the assistant location manager, it has a location scout, location assistant, it has a location production assistant. You have a bunch of people basically coming ahead and being part of it. Now, what is their role? Now, their role as a location department or location film crew is basically to go ahead and identify certain locations and go ahead and organize these certain locations for shooting a film. So for example, let's say take a movie of our Bollywood movie. Let's talk about Karan Johar's Dharma Productions. Now, if you've ever gone ahead and watched Ye Jawani Hai Diwani or Kuch Kuch Hota Hai or Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, you will know that all of these movies do have some form of cold, hilly regions that are basically there. Now, the location managers would have gone through the whole script that was written, and they went through the whole story and identified that, okay, that these are the kind of locations, that these are the kind of places that the shooting would basically kind of happen. So it would have to be hilly, it would have to be cold, it would have to look very beautiful. Probably there would be a lake, probably there would be a trail where people could walk around in, probably it would be not a location in India, but probably it is a location in India. So what they do is they scout for these locations, they go ahead and make a plan, they kind of figure out, okay, that these locations would be best in terms of shooting the film. This location would have these kind of functionalities, this location would have these kind of functionalities. So they basically go through all of that and figure out that, okay, this is perfect and this is a not perfect when it comes to shooting a film. Now, every film obviously has their different locations. Some locations, for example, if you've ever watched Titanic, it's basically done on a ship, or if you've ever watched Dil Dhadakne Do, it's also on a cruise. So scouting for a cruise ship that they can film on for the next 100 days or 200 days is also something that basically comes into play. So they basically go ahead and take care all in terms of the location. Now, the next department that we have is that of camera and lighting. So, camera department is basically that of the people who are behind the camera. So, we obviously watch everything that is shot on the camera and we see all of the visual and audio. But you have a bunch of people, also known as the camera crew, who are basically the ones going ahead and shooting the film. So, for example, let's say there's a scene of a man walking, and probably let's say it's a scene from Harry Potter, and there's Voldemort is there and Harry Potter is there, and they're going to have that big epic fight. Now there would be a whole set of cameramen who are actually recording these whole processes happen. Now obviously camera crew is very, very complicated, and it's a very complex procedure. For example, if you're looking at the setup right now, you can see, look at those big cameras that are there. So there's a lot to do with the lighting, there's a lot to do with how many shots they want to go ahead and take, from which angles to go ahead and take the shots, what effect do you want to go ahead and give, and what kind of backgrounds do you want to go ahead and have. For example, like we were talking about location, and we wanted to go ahead and make the feel of it being sort of very visual and beautiful, and it being a hilly region, then probably when the cameraman is going ahead and taking the shot, they would want to go ahead and have the background of the mountains in the back, probably have a lake in the back. So how exactly do you angle the camera, how do you keep the camera, what all do you want in focus, what you don't want in focus, all of those things basically come into play, and that's what the camera department does. Now though I have explained it very, very simply, there are a lot of people that come into it. So you have the camera operator, you have the first assistant camera, you have the second assistant, then you have the film loader. A lot of the times you have multiple cameras taking multiple shots of the same event, in order to get multiple shots that they can work with and see which works better, which doesn't work better. Now with camera, alongside camera, you have the concept of lighting. Now the concept of lighting is very, very important, because you want your picture to look the best. Now obviously if it's a sunny morning, then they can go ahead and do it in a location where it is sunny. But sometimes there might be too much glare, or there might be too much light, or there might not be enough light because maybe it's a cloudy day. So what the lighting crew does is they go ahead and work with the camera crew in order to get the best light shots. They want to go ahead and get the best amount of light in order to make the picture look exactly how it needs to go ahead and look. For example, if it's a night shot, then they'll go ahead and have certain kinds of lighting which allows for you to go ahead and experience that it is night, but there's enough light so that you can go ahead and actually understand what is happening. So in this way they go ahead and work together, camera crew and the lighting crew, and they figure out how they're going to go ahead and do their work. Now the next department that we have is known of the sound department. Now the sound department also works with the camera and lighting crew, and they go ahead and work in order to capture sound. So for example, you have two parts when it comes to your sound department. One is that which is actually happening when your actors are acting, and the other one is the behind the scenes. Now first let's go ahead and talk about the one that is on set. So on set, sound is basically sound that is the collection of sound, or collection of the audio of probably dialogues, of probably people talking, of what you want in terms of nature. So let's say there's a nature shot and they want to go ahead and capture the sounds of the wind, or they want to capture the sounds of particular animals, and they'll go ahead and record that on set. But also they want to go ahead and sometimes get the the audio of a person talking. So let's say there is an actor and an actress who are having a conversation, then the sound, the person who's collecting sound will be the person who will be checking whether the sounds are coming perfectly, whether they sound clear, whether they make sense or they don't make sense, how their voices are basically going ahead and sounding, whether there's too much wind, whether there's no wind. Every single thing they go ahead and take up, and the dialogues are crisp, neat, you can hear them perfectly. So that's what on-set sound department does. Then you have the offset sound department, who are the people who go ahead and create background sounds. They also create the music for certain films, or they just go ahead and create the backtracks that are there. So for Hollywood movies, as well as a lot of modern day Indian movies as well, we do have just backtracks and no songs particularly. So these people go ahead and create the soundtracks, or sounds that you need in the background of films. You also have, for example, in Bollywood movies and Hollywood movies, a lot of the times proper songs that exist. So these are the people who are composers, who are artists, who go ahead and create proper sounds. A very very famous person who is a music director is that of AR Rahman. He's worked with so many directors in creating so many films. And a very, very famous example would be that of Rang De Basanti. So he's gone ahead and created the background soundtracks. He's gone ahead and created each of the songs that will play. He's gone ahead and created has a team of people who are working in terms of getting lyrics, who are going ahead and singing the songs, who are going to go ahead and be, have audio effects at the background. So they are going ahead and composing everything, and they're going to, provided to the film to play around with and to work with. So that is all related to the sound production. The next department that we have is that of costume designing. Now, whenever you look at a film, you will notice that everybody is wearing certain kinds of clothes. So how do they come up with the concept of what clothes they should wear? Now, there is a whole department known as the costume department that basically comes into play and does this. So what they basically do is they go around, they figure out, again, reading the script, looking at what kind of clothes will be there. For example, if it's a movie from something that is really really olden days, let's take the movie of Jodha Akbar, then it's about very very old Mughal clothing, very glorious kind of clothing that's there. So what costume designers do is they go ahead and create beautiful costumes. They go ahead and create ideas. They create a visual representation that takes you back to this place. So for example, you can see here they're going ahead and sort of sketching out everything that they want to go ahead and create based on the mood or the scene or the scenarios that they have to go ahead and take up. And then they go ahead and actually create those dresses and pieces that the actors and actresses and the background crew is going to be going ahead and wearing in order to create the effect of the movie. Now, these were a few of the departments that I spoke about, but there are so many other departments that I haven't actually mentioned yet. So let's kind of run through that as well. One of the other departments that are very, very important is that of hair and makeup. So you have, a whole makeup department for both men and women who do their makeup based on how they want, them to look. So for example, let's take Jodha Akbar again. If there's a fight scene and Hrithik Roshan was there, then they would probably have to add in certain kinds of makeup to make him look like he has a few cuts and bruises, he's gone kind of dusty, and he's had a fight. So all of that is done by the hair and makeup department. You also have the concept of set production. So for example, if you're not going ahead and shooting on a particular location like that I said of the hills, and you're going ahead and shooting a film like Jodha Akbar, then you need certain kinds of sets. You need there to be a palace in the background, you need there to be a beautiful room, you need there to be a beautiful sitting area, you need there to be a a lawn from the Mughal era. So there is a whole set of people who actually go ahead and create this set. So these people are known as the set designers or the set production, who go ahead and actually build up the set. They actually have huge warehouses where they go ahead and create these backdrops, create these artificial sets where they can go ahead and record. And in this manner, there are so many other departments that exist. For example, you also have the art director, or the art sets that are basically there, that add in decorations, motives, things like that on sets in order to make your whole picture or your whole visualization more representative and more beautiful and really really amazing. So like I mentioned, here we have many many departments that I've spoken about, but obviously there are going to be smaller and tinier departments that exist while creating a film. Even when you have one department, there are smaller departments that come into play. Let's just take for example, if we have the hair and makeup, you might have one department. If there are 10 actors or 5 actors also, each of them will have their own smaller departments who will be specifically working with them. So in this manner, you have so many people involved in the creation of a movie. You also have so many people who are part of the production of a movie. Even though we see only something for 2 to 3 hours right in front, there are so many other aspects to it. Another aspect is in relation to what I spoke about earlier in terms of animation. We had a class all about animation. So when it's an animated film, you have completely different people all around, creating the movie. For example, you have graphic designers, you have visual artists, you have stop motion artists who go ahead and do all of that. You have VFX artists as well. They go ahead and create the movie. So different movies will have different requirements, and every movie has a collection of creators working behind it. Now today's submission is going to be for you to go ahead and figure out which department you would work with if you were part of a film crew. So let's say you are part of creating a film, or you were part of creating a movie. Then which part would you be? Would you be the director? Would you be the actor? Would you be someone who was doing costume designing? Would you be someone who was going ahead and creating a set? Would you be someone who's picking out a location? So what I want you to do is firstly figure out which part you would go ahead and work with, point number one. And point number two would be find something to click a picture with that would represent it. So let's say you want to go ahead and be a location manager. You want to be part of the location department who picks the location. So what you can go ahead and do is probably find an image on Google for what location you would like to choose. So let's say you want to go ahead and shoot a kid in probably an amusement park. So go ahead and find a picture of an amusement park and take a picture with it and upload it. So like that, you can go ahead and find whatever you like. Let's say you want to be a costume designer as part of the film crew. Then what you can do is you can either wear a costume that you have at home, or find a famous costume that you like, click a picture with that. So find something that you would want to be a part of. Let's say if you want to be an actor, then probably dress up as an actor, or find a picture of an actor, take a picture with that image that you have and upload it. So some way or the other, figure out which department you want to work with firstly, and which department you would work for if you had a chance. And secondly, find a picture related to it and upload it, and that will be your submission for today. Now, excellent job, everybody. Really, really well done. You have done such an amazing job in understanding and being patient in terms of the number of departments and what movies are and what films are. Really, really, really well done. Now, coming to the end of this class, I want to talk about two things. Firstly, the certificate program. Like you all know, you're getting certificates for the work that you're going ahead and doing. The only thing that you have to go ahead and keep in mind is to attend all of your classes. The second thing that I want to go ahead and tell you about is your submissions. Make sure you're doing all of your submissions if you want to go ahead and get your certificate. Lastly, coming to your submissions, like I always tell you, I want to see improvement. When it comes to art, I'm looking at the improvement, but when it comes to these kind of classes, I'm looking at your improvement in terms of creativity and imagination. So make sure you're going ahead and doing your submission so that I can go ahead and see how much you are growing as an individual. Till then, bye-bye, and I'll see you in the next class. Have a look at the submission video now. Bye.
Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun-filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.uolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. And then you will see a list of the classes that you last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name. And then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that. And then upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on Share, copy the link, and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at YOLO_app